the PowerPoint slide. Okay, so can you see the latest slides for week 10B, fiscal policy? Alvin, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, can you access? Okay, I try to share one more time.
Yeah, I can see,
Can, okay, good. All right, okay. So in the previous session, already learned the aggregate demand and aggregate supply, right? Then we found that actually the economic growth is much influenced by the aggregate demand and aggregate supply in an economy. Okay, then if the aggregate demand, aggregate supply fluctuate, then can the government do something, right, in order to monitor the AD or AS? Answer is yes. Okay, answer is yes. Actually, there are some tools can be used by government to monitor the AD or AS. Okay, so one of the tool or the financial policy that can be used by government is called as the fiscal policy. Okay, so this fiscal policy actually is a budgetary policy that can be used by government to control or the taxation and expenditure of a country. By using these two tools, the taxation and expenditure, this can help to influence the aggregate demand in short run. Okay, this can help to monitor the aggregate demand in short run. All right. So how can these two tools, such as taxation and expenditure, influence the AD? Okay. Why? How? How to do so? That is when the government is able to control the taxation and also the expenditure done by the government. This can help to expand or slow down the economic growth. Besides that, it can also help to achieve full employment. That means can reduce the unemployment rate. And also can help to monitor the price level of the products and trying to maintain the price stability. And lastly, to help to control the inflation rate, right? Because once the price level of the goods and services produced by the country can be stabilized, this can also help to monitor the inflation rate of the country in order to solve all the three macroeconomics issue. Okay. So what are the tax that can be charged or that can be collected by the government from the country then? Okay, so there are few income taxes that can be charged by the government. So the government can collect the tax from the individual household by using the personal income tax. So that means the higher the income of individual household, the more income tax that need to be paid by the individual household to government. Okay, so the income tax that paid by the individual household is called as the personal income tax. Okay, the second tax can be charged to the company, to the private company. Yeah, so usually the bigger company that earn more profit have to pay more income tax to the government. Yeah? Company income tax. So usually the company income tax rate is higher compared to the personal income tax rate. Okay. Besides that, the government can also implement some direct taxes in order to collect more revenue from the economy. So what are the indirect taxes here? It can be including the import duties. Okay, usually the import goods have to charge for taxes as well. Imported goods. Okay, like cars, for instance. Usually the cars are imported goods, like cars, all these have to charge for extra. Okay. And besides that, okay, the goods such as alcohol and tobacco, okay, the cigars, alcohol and cigars usually because are not really good. It's not really good for the citizen. It's harmful for the citizen in terms of health. So as a result, usually the government not only encourage the citizen to have bad habit on consuming too much alcohol or cigar. So what can the government do? The government can try to charge the taxes for those products, okay? For those products, and this type of taxes is called as the excise duties. Excise duties is charged for only certain goods. So that means who is going to pay? Who is going to pay for the excise duties then? Usually the consumer. Consumer had to pay because the price sold for the products will be higher. So consumer had to pay for the cost. Okay. Okay. And what else? What other tax that can be charged by the government then? Okay, it can be GST. Okay, GST in Malaysia usually last time in the past few years. It was, I think, start from 2016 until 2018. Malaysia used to have GST. GST is implement for all of the goods and services produced in an economy. So for the poor, for the low-income people, they have to pay relatively, okay, with the income, they have to pay more. So it's also a burden for those low-income people. Whatever they spend, they need to pay for the GST if this GST is implemented in the country. So which is really burden for all of the citizens. All of the citizens have to pay, no matter what is the income level. As long as the citizen spend for the goods and service, have to pay for the GST. So which is really burden, it's really heavy burden for those who have low income. Okay. That's why after 2018, our Malaysian government stopped to implement GST in Malaysia. Okay. And start from coming year, maybe our government is going to implement SST. SST is also called as the sales and service tax. It's only charged for certain goods or services. Only charged for certain goods and services, not all of the goods. So it's called as SST. So for example, is gambling. If you buy the lottery ticket, right, or the 4D, actually, the government had to charge for 6% of SST. So who is going to bear the cost? The consumer. Those who are paying for gambling have to pay for the SST. And government receive the tax as revenue. So these are the possible tax collection that can be collected from the government as tax revenue. Okay, so this will be the income of government. This will be the income of government. Okay, then what are the expenses or spending or expenditure that will be done by the government then in the country, okay, or in the nation? What are the expenses that usually spent by the government? Or it can be spending on the defense and security in order to protect the nation. Okay, army, all these need salary as well. All the expenses are under defense. Okay, so these are the one of the expenses that had to be paid by the government. And besides that, the government also have to spend money to develop the country for the goods of the economic growth. Okay, so the government may need to build more roads and also improve the public transport so that this can connect to the rural area and improve the economic activity in the rural area as well. Okay, and besides that, the government may also need to spend money on improving the public utilities. Public utilities can be in terms of the electricity, water supply. All these have to be improved as well for the benefit of the nation and also can encourage economic growth. Okay. And besides that, government also need to take care of the social benefit of the nation, whereby the education, health, housing, and community activities also have to be provided to the nation from time to time. Okay, so these are generally the important expenses that need to be done by the government when managing a country or the nation. So far, okay? All right. So if within a year, if the total revenue of the government is equal to the total expenditure of the government is within a year, if the government spending is equivalent to the government revenue, then we call this type of budget will be called as balanced budget. Okay, it's a balanced budget in that year. Okay, if the total revenue of the government is equal to the total expenditure. Okay, if the government have more income and spend less in a particular year, then that year is considered as having the surplus budget. Okay, surplus budget, that means the government income is more than the government spending. Okay, if the government income is less than government spending, income is less than spending, so what type of budget is that? It's called as the deficit budget. So you may ask, how can the government implement deficit budget? Okay, the government can borrow money from the national bank. Okay, can also borrow money from other countries. Can also try to raise funds by issuing the bonds to the public to buy. This is how the government can generate more money in order to spend more and practice the deficit budget. Okay. But anyway, this is also risky for the country. If the country is continuing practicing the deficit budget, then the country may not be able to clear the bad debt and having the bankruptcy issue. We have some countries are having bankruptcy issue like Greece, okay, and also Iceland. These are the countries having bankruptcy issue because the government spending money too much and it's higher than what the country receive. So it's also dangerous. It's good, sometimes it's good for the economy, but cannot be practiced too long. If continuously practicing deficit budget, this can be harmful for the country and create bad debt, which can make the country having bankruptcy issue. Okay. Okay, so generally, in a year, the government can either having the expansionary fiscal policy or having the contractionary fiscal policy. And this depends on the economic situation of a country or a nation. So usually when the economy is not good during the recession time and many people are unemployed, okay, when the condition of the economy is not very good in a nation, then the government should practice the expansionary fiscal policy. So how then? Okay, by using the expansionary fiscal policy, that means the government has to increase the spending, increase the public spending. That means have to have more projects also in the country. Spending here can be spending on building more utilities, roads, and also have project to maybe improve the hospital. These are the spending. Okay, so when the recession is coming, it's better for the government to spend more money so that this can generate more business activities in the country. Okay, and encourage people spending. And on the other hand, also, the government should try to reduce taxes, reduce the taxes on the household and also the firm. Why? Because by reducing taxes, that means the individual household and also the private firm can have extra money to spend. Right? When the tax is reducing, that means the individual household and the private firm can have extra money, or we call it as the disposable income for spending. So once the household or private firm have extra money to spend, this can increase the GDP of the country and increase the economic growth for the nation. Okay, so in short, if the economy is not good, the government should try to implement the expansionary fiscal policy. How to do so? There are two tools. That is increasing government spending and at the same time reducing taxes charged on the individual firms and also the households. So far, okay, yeah? Okay, then what happens if the country is having very high inflation? High inflation means the general price level of the goods and services produced in the country are very high, yeah? And that is the scenario whereby there are too much money chasing for few goods. Okay, most of the goods price are very high, yeah? And the value of the money is low. Okay, so in this scenario here, how to overcome the inflation then? Okay, if that's the case, the government can practice the contractionary fiscal policy. Contract means reduce, reduce. Okay, that means reduction type of strategy. So how to do so then? Okay, the government can also using two tools, which are using tax and spending to monitor the inflation rate. How? Okay, the government can try to increase the taxes on the household and private firm so that household and private firm can reduce their spending. Okay, so by implementing taxes, this can reduce the spending on the household and firm, right? And at the same time, also the government should try to reduce the government spending. That means reduce the G. Okay, reduce the G. So once G reducing, this can also help to reduce the AD, right? So when AD reduce, this will reduce the GDP. Okay. So in general, these are the two tools that can be used by government if the government would like to practice contractionary fiscal policy to overcome the inflation. Okay, so far so good. All right. Okay, then next slide is, okay, let us see how is the impact on the GDP by using diagram. We would like to check, okay, if the government practicing expansionary or contractionary fiscal policy, how will be the impact to the GDP of the country? Okay, let's check one by one. For expansionary fiscal policy, that means the government will be going to increase the spending, but reduce the tax, right? So that this can enhance or increase the C and I value. Okay. So once the C and I and G increasing, that means this will shift the AD curve to the right hand side. That means it's shifting from AD1 to AD2. Once the C, I, and G increasing, this will shift the AD curve to the right hand side. Okay. So where is the macroeconomic equivalent point now? Once the AD shift to the AD2, that will be point B. So you may find that right at point B, the price level now is increasing, and the GDP of the nation also increasing. So when the GDP increasing, this can help to address the issue of recession. So when GDP increasing, this can help to reduce the recession problem. Because once the GDP increasing, that means the job opportunity also increase, and this can reduce the unemployment. Okay, on the other hand, what happened to contractionary fiscal policy? Okay, assuming that now the original macroeconomic equivalent point is at point A here, right? This is the general price level of the goods available in the country, and this is the original GDP of a nation. Is here. Okay, so if the country is practicing contractionary fiscal policy, that means the government is going to reduce spending and at the same time increase the tax on household and firm. So what is going to happen? If that's the case, that means the G is going to reduce, right? G is going to reduce. The I and also the investment are also going to reduce. So once I, C, G all reduce, this will shift the AD curve to the left-hand side. Okay, and where is the new macroeconomic equivalent point now? It's here, point B. That is the point whereby the short run AS curve intersect with the aggregate demand curve, which is this point. So you may find that at this point, the price level of the products now reducing, and the GDP value is also reducing. Okay, so by reducing the price level, this can also reduce the inflation rate of the nation. This is how the contextual fiscal policy works. Okay, so in short, in this chapter, you already learn what is aggregate demand, what is aggregate supply, and when is the aggregate demand is going to move along the curve. Okay, it's based on the price level of the general products. And there are 4 factors that can shift the aggregate demand curve to the left or to the right, which are the C, I, G, and X. Okay, and bear in mind, in the short run, the aggregate supply curve is outward sloping. Is outward sloping. Is big. Okay, and the AS curve can shift to the left or to the right hand side based on the production cost for labor, physical capital, natural resources, and also the technological changes. Okay, and in the long run, the aggregate supply curve is vertical line. It's because like the percentage change of the final goods price can be compensated by the percentage change in the input cost. Okay, so when in the long run, these 2 factors, the changes will be the same. As a result, you may find that the aggregate supply is not sensitive to the change of the in final goods price level. Will be the same as usual. Okay. And lastly, for fiscal policy, already learned 2 types of fiscal policy. So when the economy is not good, is having the recession time, then the government should practicing the expansionary fiscal policy by increasing the government spending and reducing the tax. So by doing this at the same time, so what is going to happen? What will be the consequences? This is going to increase when the G increasing and also the I reducing. This will increase the C and also increase the I. Once the I increase, because there are more outputs now in the market, because when more private firms willing to produce, then that means this can also have more quantity output. Okay, and this quantity output also can help to increase the export in the country. Okay, the quantity of export also can be increased. Okay. So all of these factors increasing, this will increase the AD value. This will lead to higher AD and shift the AD curve to the right hand side. Okay, so once the AD curve shift to the right hand side, this can help to increase the GDP value of the country. Okay, on the other hand, okay, when the economy is having very serious inflation, high inflation rate, that means the price level of the products are relatively higher. Okay, if the price level is too high, it's also not good. Too high, that means the poor people may not be able to survive because living cost is too high. Okay, inflation high, right? That means the living cost is very high. Okay, and also this can also reduce the export of the country. Okay, if the inflation is higher, that means the price of the products is high, and the foreigners we are not willing to buy the products from local as well because it's too expensive now. So this can also reduce the import, the export of the country. So as a result, in order to monitor this happen, what can we do? The government can try to use the contextual fiscal policy. So how to do some of that is reduce the government spending, but at the same time, increase the income tax in the nation, so that the aggregate demand curve can shift to the left-hand side. Once the aggregate demand curve shift to the left-hand side, what's going to happen? The price level of the products will reduce. Okay, and the GDP also will reduce as well. So this can help to monitor the inflation rate. Okay. All right. So we already finished the discussion for chapter number 10. So your quiz 3 will cover until this chapter. Quiz 3 will cover 3 chapters, which are the national income, followed by the 3 major macroeconomics problems, followed by this chapter, which are the aggregate demand, aggregate supply, and the fiscal policy. Okay, 3 chapters. And coming Monday, we are going to have a briefing session to discuss on the online quiz 3. We are going to have a briefing session at 4 o'clock. I think the email announcement already posted on the canvas. You can go to check. Okay. Okay. Any questions at the moment? Okay. I think there are some students asking questions in the meeting chat. Let me see. What are your questions? Recovery. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Alvin just answered the question. Okay. Yep. Any questions so far on this chapter? Okay, so we are going to have a discussion on this during our tutorial on Wednesday. Okay, so for the tutorial question, you can just refer to module week 11 in order to access the questions. And then the coming week, second tutorial session, we are not going to proceed to new chapter, but we are going to use that session to do revision on practice exercise 3. We are going to discuss the practice exercise 3 questions, okay, during the second tutorial session on Thursday coming week. And also, if you got any problem on the assignment, we can also discuss. If you've got any problem on the group assignment, we can also discuss. I think yesterday I received one email asking about the word count. Okay, I think I better share with all of you. The word limit for the group assignment is 1,500 words. So how to do the counting then? Okay, let me open the Canvas site. Okay, so let me share the assignment instructions. Okay, so the word limit for this assignment report is 1,500 words only. Cannot more than 1,500 words. Then what are the sections should be counted and what are the sections should not be counted? Then let me see. Okay, so assume that this is the framework of your report, right? So what are the sections should be counted? Okay, it should be including the introduction. This is your task A, right? Detailed discussion. This is your task B. Justify. This is your task C. Task D and E. Okay. So when you do the word count, it should only include section 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. References should not be included. References should not be included in your word count. Table of content also no. Cover page also no. Okay, only this section will include in your word count. I think one student asked this question. Hopefully you can understand this. Okay. So references should be excluded. It's not included in your word count. So any question on this? The word count? I think Nelly asked the question, right? Nelly? Hopefully I answer your question, Nelly. Okay.
So,
Yes.
is it in text citation is considered as well?
Oh, you mean the in-text, in-text citation,
Yeah.
In-text citation can exclude also, not counted.
Okay, all right.
Don't worry, okay, as long as your word count is within like 1,000, yeah, if like 1,600, because I know that if 1,600 is also include some of the in-text referencing, that should be fine, okay? If your word count, if you include the in-text referencing is about 1, it's still acceptable. Yeah. So any other question on the word count? If 1,600, if including the in-text referencing, still acceptable. Okay, cover page, if you don't cover page, okay, it's better put so that I know who are your team members. Any other question on the assignment? Alvin, yes. Or who is the person? Okay. Quiet means no other question, Okay. So I'll see you on Monday during the briefing session, Monday. I'm going to send one email to remind you on the briefing session on the same day, probably morning time, okay? No other question?
So,
Yes.
what
Chrissy?
about the assignment cover sheet?
Cover sheet, Okay, actually for this semester, the cover sheet is not compulsory anymore. In the middle of semester, I think the management already decided not to submit the cover sheet. So you can ignore the cover sheet at the moment. Okay, cover sheet is not required anymore. What can you do is you just put this cover page. Cover page you can put title, group members name and ID. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, cover sheet is something like this. We used to have the cover sheet, but now is in the electronic format. Okay, actually all these things here, this part, right, actually is the content of the cover sheet last time, okay, so that the student will declare all of this before submitting the assignment. But start from this semester, students do not need to submit a soft copy of the cover sheet anymore. Okay, you just need to read this on the Canvas website, the instructions for plagiarism. So that means for your cover page, you just need to have a very simple with your title, group members name and ID. Okay. So this one can be one page. Table or content you can also put. Yeah. This is not in the word count. It should not be included in your word count. Okay. Any other question? Okay. If you've got any problem, you can just email me. All right, from time to time, in order to address your doubt on the assignment report. So bear in mind, our assignment report due date is coming week Friday, 20th November, 12 noon. Okay. If no other question, then we just call it there. All right. So I see you in the coming week. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Alvin. Yeah. Sophia, got any question? Seems to be typing. Sophia, are you typing something? Sophia and Edwin. Oh, okay. Edwin, okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. See you, Jason. Yeah.
Bye, sir.
Bye. See you, Carissa. Yeah, see you tomorrow, Carissa, yeah?
Yeah, yes.
Bye, sir.
Bye-bye. See you. I'm going to pause the video for the meeting today on the Canvas soon. Okay, I'll stop the recording now. Okay.